Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. We are continuing our journey through the Gospel of John, and we have made it to the 21st chapter of John's Gospel. We are going to be looking at verses 9 to 14, so we're about halfway through the 21st chapter. Probably about 2 more days, and we'll finish this up. This is being recorded to be broadcast on Monday, January 31st of 2022, and so we welcome you if you are watching us sometime in the future. We left off with Jesus at the Sea of Galilee, Peter and the other six of the disciples. We know not exactly who all's there. Two of them are unnamed. They are off fishing. Peter has felt the call to go back to something familiar in this time of stress and strain. Whether they needed some fish for food, we don't know, or whether it was just to go off and do something again that was familiar and something that we know and we can have find some solace in. Oftentimes, when we're in times of stress, something familiar is something that we long to do, or that we reach to find some comfort. So they're out fishing. They've been fishing all night though and had no luck, and they've seen this figure on the side of the sea, and he has called out to them, and suggested to them or advised them to fish off the right side of the boat. And so they do, and they have this miraculous catch. And Peter has donned his clothes, which is counter to our idea in our culture. We would not normally get dressed to jump in the water to swim, but due to the modesty, their ideas of modesty, the customs of honor, and all of that, he didn't want to appear before his master unclothed with limited clothing on. It's not the same as working with the guys and being around your master in the context of his teacher. So out of respect to Jesus, he gets clothed, jumps in the sea, swims ashore, and this is where we pick up. He has gotten to the shore, and the boat gets to the shore shortly after. So let's pick up with 9 to 14 and see what we can delve out of this. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish that you have just caught." So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore full of large fish, 153 of them. And though there were so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." Now none of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. And remember, in the last devotion that I did, I talked about that this is really the fourth time. Here, even the gospel writer is discounting, not proper thing to do, my friend, discounting the appearance to Mary Magdalene. Of course, in Jewish culture, the witness of a woman, the testimony of a woman doesn't count, an individual woman especially, and so they are looking at it as the witness of the men in their culture. But it's the fourth time. Jesus appeared 4 times. Mary Magdalene was first. She is the primary one. She's the disciple to the disciples, as I said before. She's bringing them the good news of Jesus' appearance. But that be what it may. Here we have Jesus has already started cooking the breakfast. He already has the fire going. He already has fish and bread. And the interesting thing about this is that though we don't have, we don't have the exact location of where the feeding of the 5,000 took place. We don't know exactly where this took place. So the Catholic Church does have the church of the primacy of Peter in the spot where tradition tells them that where this took place, this breakfast with Jesus. There is a church there, and it's a beautiful location. I've been there when Gail and I were in Israel. It's one of the more touching places. It really is a place that does have a great deal of impact with you, especially Gail had a great deal of impact there. There in the church, there is a rock that's exposed where they believe they sat and had breakfast. And people stuff prayers into the crevices of the rock, and that's one of the places Gail did write down a prayer and stuff it into the rock at that location. I didn't do that, but Gail did, and it meant a great deal to her. Had a great impact. So it is an impactful place, but there's no way to be 100% certain that this is the place. Okay, but nonetheless, it is a place that focuses on this occurrence. So they are there, they're having the breakfast. Jesus has already started preparing the food, and it is a location close. If the feeding of 5,000 took place where we think it takes place, and this took place where the two are close together, and so you have these feeding miracles, and of course it's in close to where the wedding miracle took place as well. So we have all of this, or excuse me, not close to it, but it's a continuation of that the wedding. It's not in the same location. It's the continuation of that abundance message of the first miracle in John's gospel. All right. So at any rate, I digress. They've hauled in this miraculous catch full of large fish, 153 of them. Now, there's a lot of discussion about that 153. What exactly does that mean? It meant something. And it's certain that it meant something to the people in the time. One of the sad things about it is our changing of culture and our changing of understandings. We're not 100% sure what that was supposed to be all about. Um, but one of the theories, and the theory I think is probably the makes the most sense to me, is that at that time, we know different now, but at that time it was believed that for some reason that was the sum total. 153 was all the species of fish that there were. We know there's many times more of that now, but at that time of what their experience was in that region of the world, they believe there were 153 different species of fish. So the idea is that this is equating to the idea of taking the gospel to all the world, all that's out there, all the peoples that are out there. All the fish represent all the peoples, and so all the nations are represented by this. So that's one of the theories. There are multitude of different theories. Don't know which one is right. Don't know. We'll probably never know. Not important. It's just that it's an abundance, as I think is the important part of this message. So they come and they have breakfast with him. He breaks the bread, and the interesting thing here is though that they don't ask him who he is. There seems to be some doubt here, doesn't it? Is it, they know it's him, but they don't want to ask him if it's him. Is he not appearing quite the same? The other two visitations to the disciples and the visitation to Mary. Now she at first didn't know it was Jesus, but then when he spoke in the darkness, perhaps of the dimness of the day or whatever, or she wasn't looking him fully in the face because as a woman she wouldn't make eye contact with a strange man. The other two, though, when he appeared before the disciples and before Thomas, they knew who he was immediately. So this is kind of a strange thing that part is in there. Also, part of the thing about being fishers of men here, people do like to equate that back to the calling of the disciples. We have to be a little careful there because that's conflating gospels, because the fishers of men thing takes place in Mark and Matthew, not in John. John, when Jesus calls the disciples in John's gospel, it's not about the fishing, and there's no fishers of men message there. But here I think it's more about that Jesus is preparing the way for us, and that we, even when we're in these moments of trial and tribulation, when we're worried and we don't know what, we're uncertain, Jesus is already preparing our nourishment for us. And I think there is some equation back to the provision of God through the feeding of the 5,000, 4,000 there. He says, come and eat and have breakfast. It is perhaps even a reinstitution or a reinforcing of the Last Supper in some ways, perhaps even. John again doesn't have the true Last Supper as well. It's different in that regard as well. So he's breaking bread with them. He already has the bread there cooked. So that's where I'm going to leave you at here for this one. This is we're getting close to the end. So like I said, probably two more installments of this, and we will be done with John's Gospel. So with that, have a very blessed day. Please be a blessing to someone today. And we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.